The Vejigante mask is a symbol of the synthesis of cultures that merged in Puerto Rico. The Vejigante evolved as a figure used in carnival celebrations on the island. In the town of Loíza, Puerto Rico, it has become a character that symbolizes the cultural synthesis of African traditions with the story of St. James the Apostle. The Vejigante is an amalgamation of two Spanish words, vejiga, meaning cow bladder, and gigante, or giant. The name refers to the vejigas that the Vejigantes carry with them. The bladder, which is dried, inflated, filled with seeds, and painted, is the trusty weapon of the Vejigante. The two festivals in Puerto Rico in which the Vejigante is a prominent figure are the Ponce Carnaval and the Fiesta de Santiago Apostol, or Festival of St. James, held in Loíza each July. The Vejigante is a folkloric figure whose origins trace back to medieval Spain, but infused with many elements of African traditions. It is as much trickster devil, or diablito, as sacred sage. With slightly different names, costumes, and masks, Vejigantes or similar figures appear as devil heroes of cultural performance, resistance, resilience, and preservation throughout the Hispanic Caribbean and the littoral Central and South Americas. One of the earliest descriptions of the Vejigante comes from the writer Cervantes in his novel Don Quixote, who describes costume mummers and bohigangas who use inflated vejigas on sticks as weapons to mock and chastise onlookers. A bohiganga is a type of comedy troupe that would perform in different towns, and the Vejigante was a character type in such plays. The word Vejigante entered the Puerto Rican lexicon by 1747. Spain was invaded by Moors from northern Africa and dominated the southern Iberian Peninsula between 710 to 732 AD. But it was not until the 15th century that Moors were driven out of Spain. Moorish presence in the Iberian Peninsula was extensive, except in the north, where shortly after the process known as Reconquista started to spread. Spain emerged as a unified country in the 15th century under the Catholic monarchs who completed their Reconquista in 1492. The story of St. James the Moor Killer took hold well after unification of a Spain entirely under Catholic influence. The legend has it that St. James appeared as an apparition with a legion of Christian soldiers and defeated the Moors alongside the Spanish conquistadors in the fictional Battle of Clavijo. St. James was subsequently labeled San Santiago el Matamoros. Aspects of the historical Battle of Montelaturce were incorporated into this legend of the Battle of Clavijo, where the legend states he appeared. Another part of the legend states that the Apostle St. James scared off the Moorish enemies by disguising his troops as demons, the origin of the peculiar costumes associated with the Vejigante in festivities today. This legend had a symbolic impact and used the saint as a figure to represent the unification of Spain and its power. The iconography of Santiago Matamoros became part of the mobilization of Spain's colonization of the Americas. St. James became the patron saint of the conquistador, depicted in artworks as the protector of Spaniards from the indigenous peoples of the Americas. The festival of St. James originates from the city of Santiago de Compostela in Galicia, Spain, where they celebrate for 2 weeks in the month of July. Galicia is an autonomous community under Spanish law located in the northwest Iberian Peninsula. In fact, St. James Day is also known as Galicia Day, as it has such a strong tie to the identity of the people in the region. St. James Festival celebrations in Santiago combine both religious and traditional elements with contemporary music, theater, entertainment, and a wide range of cultural events filling the city's old town and its main squares. The festival indicates the evolution of St. James as a patron saint of preservation, as he preserved the Christendom of Spain. For many Spaniards, the saint is seen as a protector of roots and identity. Anthropologist Fernando Ortiz discusses in his book Los Diablitos Negros de Puerto Rico the evolution of the Vejigante mask in Puerto Rico. The book describes how the enslaved Africans synthesized their traditions into the religious practices of their enslavers. The story that Ortiz presents is that the slaves of Puerto Rico in Loíza adopted the Vejigante mask and the festival of St. James to secretly practice their religious traditions under the camouflage of Catholic ones. An example of this would be St. James himself, who depicted as a conquistador is repurposed for many Yoruba people enslaved in the Caribbean as the god Shango, a principal deity of the religion of the Yoruba of southwestern Nigeria. In the Baroque era of Spanish drama, Bohiganga theater used the Vejigante as a jester, repurposed as a shaman. This character is similar to the trickster Orisha Elegua, and a masking tradition that was part of the Ogungun societies that honored the ancestors. The Vejigante became an adopted figure by the enslaved Africans who disguised the Vejigante as the Yoruba deity Elegua. The image here compares the similarities of sculptures depicting Elegua's head and the Loíza-style Vejigante mask. On the day of festivities in Loíza, the figure of St. James is carried in procession through the town. The small statue is covered with ribbons and flowers and appears animated as it moves through the parade. The basic structure of the mask is known as the careta, made from either papier-mâché or coconut husks as illustrated here. The Loíza mask typically sports a fearsome assortment of horns, 2 buck teeth, colorful and often polka-dotted. The craft is a tradition passed down through families for generations and at times adopted by independent artisans.